Hello, I'm Manuel Cota. I'm the curator for this exhibition, and I would like the pleasure of introducing you to it. The title of this exhibition is Marshall Plan Information Wars. The Cold War Museum in Warrenton, Virginia houses the show as well as many other artifacts from the time period, such as uniforms, equipment, and even pieces of aircraft. This exhibition presents an artistic reaction to the Marshall Plan set out by the United States after World War II to rebuild Europe from the ground up. It shows the expectations that were put into this plan by the Western world, by countries such as the US, France, the UK, and many others, but also the discontent by the USSR over what for them appeared to be ridiculous settlements. The focal points of this exhibition are visual communication and visual influence. This is very much present through the artworks, and it's really the focal point of this whole show. Now, this first piece is called CCCP in USA. It is a cover for the magazine Opus in the number 4 edition. It was done by Roman Sislowicz. In this artwork, two Supermen appear over a yellow background, each one with the superpower's initials. It is very interesting to see that since Sislowicz is a Polish artist, he chose an American icon to depict both of these superpowers and their apparently ability to do anything that they wanted. In a way, the artist wanted to express how these both superpowers saw themselves as rescuing Europe after the war, and with it, they will spread their ideologies to the rest of the world. The second piece is a Dutch poster by FJF Nets. It is a figure that's covered with the flags of Western European countries, and it appears to hold a glove representing the European side of the world. So we can see the outlines for France, the UK, Spain, Italy, Denmark, the Denmark Peninsula, and many others here. And below this figure and the globe, it says Samenwerk, Samensterk in Dutch, which translates to work together, strong together. This poster was made to provoke a certain feeling of unity in Europe that had not been seen before in an effort to rebuild themselves from the rubble. We have to acknowledge that before World War II and the Marshall Plan, Europe was very much a disconnected set of countries that interacted with each other, and it's very much different from whatever we see today with the Eurozone and the European Union. The next piece is a Soviet poster, the first Soviet artwork. Uh, in it, we see a worker appearing up front, angrily rejecting the American aid. But we also notice that beneath the flag that uh, the, the figure on the right carries, there is a bayonet rifle with a knife sticking out. The bottom text of this piece reads, "The peoples of the world do not want a repeated distress of war." And in the corner, we see that it's signed by Joseph Stalin himself. The Soviets were very wary of receiving help from the US after expressing their discontent over measures that were included in the Marshall Plan. And if we look closely, this figure that is on the left with the top hat represents a certain US president that was in charge of this whole plan during his presidency. And it's interesting to note that the banner on the background here says Vive l'ours in French, and it evokes the French cry of Vive la France, which was very much used throughout the French Revolution and the First and Second World Wars. The final piece of the show is called Peace Excluded from Paradise. It is a translation from the original French title. This cartoon first appeared in the Soviet newspaper Crocodile, notable for its political cartoons. Many outstanding representatives of the Western world are up front, one that immediately strikes out is Pope Pius XII, who rose at the beginning of World War II and presented himself as a neutral character during the war, but after it, he ordered, along with the Vatican and the Holy See, the decree against communism, excommunicating communists from the Catholic Church. And we can also see other figures in this artwork. We can see caricature versions of Churchill, Roosevelt, and here's Pope. They are all encircled in red. And it's interesting to see that they're using weapons against peace. So machine guns, bats, rocks, and even a rosary, everything trying to attack it. And if you look closely at the blue circles, we see something very interesting, which are nuclear bombs. Both the USSR and the US had already become interested in nuclear weapons after seeing the massive destruction power they had at the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And one interesting thing about it is that if you look closely, they both resemble palm trees. It could mean the abundance of these weapons that both were mass producing it after the war in an effort to compete against each other. It is interesting to see how visual communication really took off after the war, with each side producing art and mass to transmit their ever-changing ideals and relationships as quickly as possible to the general population. And I believe that that same information war is being played at the present with the constant flow of news about the Ukraine situation. But I believe that with a visit to this exhibition, one might find that communication is what one desires to understand from the world.